Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Sure that Claare Gael is Babaliam Ossaltiger. My name is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach, Owl Bobby Bob, and this bilingual programme is called Claare Gael. And in it you'll hear something of the English language, as Angie Neo Clash and Dithanach Jen Gilg, and in it you'll hear something of the Manx Gaelic, Chinyan Amera, the mother tongue of Aled Vanim, the Isle of Man. As Bannacht under Drish, there's a tale of three of the island's bishops, or there are tales of three of the island's bishops, three incumbents of that office who strove to make the prayer book and the Bible accessible to the people of the Isle of Man by making it available to be read, at least to them, not necessarily to be read by them, but to be read to them at least, in the Manx language in an authorised form. So sciel machion a mother as a sparrow, ta mother Cairach as a hagrasair, Engels jachels balia ris sparrow, ta reiche de wel bier a gernegge. Nish ta saie jegge woorde, ta trom na cadle, as een a lice a red, chords tan sparrow na high bangan. Molia Solia de Owen Williams. Congratulations to Owen Williams, who won the Trophée Accordion Castagnari Lorique, which is an accordion competition, and it was for playing a Breton air, in fact, at the Festival Celtic de Lorient. Here, though, Owen plays a new slide and a dark polka. In Irish, Sliaun an Nua as Polka Dorcha. Dat was Geesjach Rish Radio Vanning, Stasjoen en Asjoen, Viskol er Skelia Maag, by Doolish, Alan Vanning. Owen Williams, there playing music in the Irish style, but 2 days ago he won the Trophée Accordéon Castagnari Loric and €400 playing a Breton air. And congratulations too, in fact, to Arabella Iron, who gained a third place in the Trophée Harpe Camac, also in Lorient yesterday. The Church of England introduced a Book of Common Prayer in 1549. It was subject to a number of revisions, including one in 1604, the year following the accession to the English throne of King James, the 7th of Scotland, the 1st of England. The 1604 revision of the Book of Common Prayer was minor, but included extending the Catechism to deal with the sacraments. It was this 1604 revised version of the Book of Common Prayer that Bishop of Sodor and Man John Phillips took to translate into the Manx language. Manx hadn't appeared in written form by this time, apart from some place and personal names in official records, so there was no tradition of capturing the sounds of Manx on the page. Bishop Phillips was a native of North Wales, and it's said that he used the sound values of letters used in writing Welsh, as well as those in writing English, in order to create a system of writing Manx, so that the 1604 Book of Common Prayer became available to the Manx clergy, and they would then read it to their congregations. Gouds van morgen a lai na chadel sy red, henk immer nach Carledi gesen, leis Carledi is 3 cabelegge, luchtit leis de wollag de fin. As ren a sparrow, as fagen na rauwen immer nach chi chinder liadi, ach de rau freurish gol a bollach cajin, red van modern a lai, illach mach immer nach Carledi, gau carel non a nieuw surrens a hon. Ach ren an immer nach, as gre trud na fieglenegge, creen adi for de sos ginu dus. Blees de kipegge, as Jimene a Carledi, harish a border. As ve kroidjit gebes, eg na queelen. Dilly mach a sparrow. Tawos barrow a modem a brer, as neo call na cavel as a Carledi ons coolina. Oh, machavel as Carledi, dorten him an a Carledi, crenadi for de just janu dus, dinna wist and froshed, as dimmen ne rosh. Brian Cromarty of the Orkney duo Saltfish 40 wrote a song about a farmer, and this farmer back in 1814 decided to destroy ancient standing stones on his land. Fortunately he was stopped, but not before he'd brought down the Odin stone.
Saw them joining hands. come, too late to save that fallen stone, too late to be undone. 5,000 years had he torn away, all laid to dust in a day. A persecution justified, the Kai he was driven away. The Kai he was driven away. The Kai he was driven away.
A song about the farmer Willie Mackay of Courtney and the fate of the Odin Stone, a song written and sung by Brian Cromarty of the duo Saltfish 40 with Douglas Montgomery on fiddle and vocal harmonies. Ren a sparrow snaustiach for vratach ar lady, as renne spulgeg a dol ons biel je ferge na mulligan, der a henke mach as, as ren ullu a fien dare te mach gin na nimmenach goltaas de je. Lord Tamil treich hem a giet, honneke der au riddenach drigge vain char lady, as trer an is scrutach an na mulligan, chure mach der au ferge au fallen, mas dille mach, sho, she dunje millet mish. Gene millet de loert au voorstoer de sparrow. As lukt de etlach de ferge in a kabel, hugge hien jade werchjonegge, as renne spulgeg na soelienegge. Tre honnik an nimmenach shen, gawe ye a taiegge, de woele sparrow. Ren kaart egger tollach shen, etlach soesen as ren an immanach missele, as renne boele kavel a chjonegge. De renne tujem schies, as e maru. Oh, she dunje millet mish, delia. Gene millet de loert hou voorstoer te sparrow. Bishop John Phillips's Manx translation of the Book of Common Prayer was circulated in handwritten form. There's no record of a printed form. It survives in later manuscripts which seem to be fair copies of it. The orthography, the form of writing of capturing the sounds on paper, in fact appears to be more phonetic than the orthography which apparently came into being about 100 years later. However, it was that later orthography that became the basis for the way in which Manx generally is written today. Bishop Phillips's Book of Common Prayer provides a record of the Manx spoken in the first decade of the 1600s, and the orthography, although initially quite different to anyone who's accustomed to reading printed material in Manx these days, is actually pretty easy to follow because it is more phonetic and doesn't have some of the ambiguities of the later orthography. Now, Bishop John Phillips died on the 7th of August in the year 1632, and he's buried in St German's Cathedral, although the exact location of that burial isn't known. And that's the opening of a set by Bagad Cap Cabal in the second round of the Kenstribadeg ar Bagadou, the Championnat National de Bagadou, the national championship for the Breton bagpipe bands. Cap Cabal came from second place to clinch the championship in Lorient a couple of weeks, well, it was a week last Saturday.
Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn sy'n yn eisio radio banning. Ys yn sio tawas geisiach rys Claare na Gael. Mish Robert gyda'n corsla, Robert y corslach.
Did the other hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Ta recortus je Claare na Gael regedden rys siacht yn logigol ar sgelia mach, leo rys brw y kraman eis rys yn edeg radio banning. Ta podcast jint je Claare na Gael nies, vis regedden nasty trwyd yn edeg radio banning, na trwyd de reichier de podcasts, wel sy'n Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. Two of Bishop John Phillips's successors were also involved in making the Manx language available in written form. Thomas Wilson was appointed Bishop of Sodor and Man on the 25th of December 1697. He was greatly respected and held in very high esteem, with his sermons being collected and published, as well as an extensive biography being made of him. He noted that the clergy were making their own translations of the scriptures into Manx to preach to their Manx-speaking congregations. When Bishop Wilson came to prepare a book on the principles and duties of Christianity, the book was printed in 1707 with facing columns in English and in Manx, the first printed material in the Manx language. The work is known in Manx as the Choral Soldier, from its opening description of a father instruction. In the preface he makes mention of the liberty which men take in writing the Manx language after their own fashion. In other words, they had no standard system of writing amongst themselves. Gouds van immenach gimman roos lesje de gabel vermaarn. Ren a sparrow snaustjag riech voor brattig haar lady. As ren es spulgamage dol as spiel a nabolag. De ren ulju a fin ferne magas. Tregawan immanach taasta jay, delia mach rish, oh, she done ye millet mish. Ach, dreger a sparrow, ga nee millet de lure tau fos, as hugge a hien na jado kion na nachabel, as gawe toyach der spulgeg na suljenegge. Ren na nimmanach rai back, as hrogge susa taiegge, de woole. Ach, en ouder en a sparrow etlach soesten hotje bulje a chabel. De rauwe marwit. Oh, she dunje millet mish, dilien emanach. Ga nee millet de loer tau fos door de sparrow. As lug de korre hin de jade a traaschabel, rauwe toeg der spulge ek no soelienegge. Ren na nimmanach lees de maakse moesegge a sparrow gin gierige ro lau. Now this is a Welsh lullaby with Delith Jenkins on harp and Angharad Jenkins on fiddle and vocals. This is Sio Gan, which I think means a crooning song. Hina Plentin, Sleep Thou Child, the Welsh lullaby C.O. Gan, performed by Delith Jenkins on harp and Anghara Jenkins on fiddle and vocals there. Ren bwlio taien imanach missal y sparw. Ach, ren liegel y tras chabelega as marw. Oh, she dunya millet mish dilia. Chane millet de loer tau voorstreger a sparrow. Chas we getlach er soel. Nim jinu shiga je sen, eg a tired. Maar so we een immanach vergeel a Claare die egge, ni jade wun shen. As higher de valia, len de joules. Oh, doort Irische wen, kreen donnes we hem. Tan fien deert het, as ten a kabel olju en troer maru. Oh, me wunje sheshe dregerish, ta lied a sparrow aglach jitges a tai shaw, te a chorlesh yinli olju en as tad on shen ons meen a churnach ein, a slug a shisi. As jiche as en dolje ges voor tauzenen de yinli, nen sai a tollo. As we nie bonus olju a churnach. As van sparrow se veenjou. As dilly machen immanach, oh, she dunje millet mish. Gene millet de loer tau force, dreger a sparrow. Bishop Phillips's spelling system hadn't been adopted. Apparently there was quite a feeling, there was a report at least, of quite a feeling against it because he was an outsider coming in some way, and therefore people didn't want to adopt his system of spelling. As I say, he was from North Wales originally. The orthography used for the Claare Sodor was quite different from Bishop Phillips's prayer book. Now, perhaps because it was the first printed matter, or perhaps because Wilson came to be admired in the island to a greater extent than Phillips had been, or perhaps it was that Phillips had turned to some of his clergy to work out, some of his Manx clergy, to work out a way of getting Manx down on paper. Perhaps that was the difference. But the version that Wilson adopted for his Claare Sodor pretty well became the standard orthography. Thomas Wilson's period in office was a time of uneasy relationships between the temporal authority of the Lord of Man and the spiritual authority of the bishop. When Thomas Wilson and his two vicars general were imprisoned in Castle Rushen in 1722, one of the vicars general, William Walker, started work on translating the Bible into Manx. Now, is that a clue? Was it him who had started work and translated Bishop Wilson's work for the Claare Sodor into Manx? Anyway, William Walker started on translating the Bible into Manx, and he made translations of the four Gospels and of the Acts of the Apostles. However, only An Sustial Scrooch Llorish Nu Mayan, the Gospel according to St. Matthew, was published by Bishop Wilson in 1748. And by that time, William Walker, in fact, himself had died. Now, there's no nicer young girl. That's according to Cachal o Curon. In this song in Irish, Níl Cáiliúin óg níos deise.
Tá se bliain in éis ó dair mé ó chéimh a gíle sé. Mó srí breisiú le cúi ag fáil go mór a mó é. A cluinne mé is gailtí Erais dus no Le halt erais no one le Kuklantan las guido Vi soon Taman ra Svi akrigo Kedr maida Nur a hope we I could fall thee Slay head right for those Oh, very long What lay At this fading dry Most reading Helen high Now Kish to share For young time Rise we don't Suleiman reilte exile she wings and Snud a chais that I to me so light chicky ceremony Snud a chais to some tardy so lay far the grass Oh, drach we made the one name, cause Paul's me moda. Be soon the moonrise, we actually go to my dad, but I hope we are to fall things, so lay head right for those. Agus fading dry most reading Helen high now Kish to share For young time rise we go
Cathal o Curan and the song Níl Caldin og Nis Jesha. It was to be Bishop Wilson's successor, Mark Hildersley, who finally brought about the preparation of the whole Bible into Manx, dividing the work out amongst the Manx clergy and setting the Reverend Philip Moore as overall editor, with John Kelly acting as his amanuensis, preparing fair copy for the printers. The final printer's proofs of the final part of the Bible in Manx were placed in Bishop Mark Hildersley's hand just 9 days before his death in 1772. Bishop Mark Hildersley lived to see work completed on preparing a full printed edition of the Bible in Manx. He'd already seen the publication of the complete New Testament in Manx, though William Walker's orthography from the 1748 edition of the Gospel of St. Matthew was revised for the new edition. The same is probably true of William Walker's versions of the other three Gospels and the Acts of the Apostles, which he'd undertaken, but we don't have these original manuscripts of those for comparative purposes. Imanach door sparrow, new called the Vjois Marculina, as Jatchele Soul. Nish van Imanach Carledi a called the Chulje nie wege, as high as Jacks a tie, as high as she's the corrie as the trimshach, chow hulu jane churashema. Van sparrow na chiadu liakanunjag, as Diliamach. Imanach, new call the Vjois Marculina. Esh rinnan imanach gol Graham Jane Taiega as Chiawie sparrow. Ach renne brisje ons de arn en sashunjag as chabenne rische sparrow. Ren cor limmerach nish diach on. Hugge hin na chiade wer a churra shamer as diliamach imanach Carledi niu called of Joas Morchulina. As ren eschen, as a chiel les joules, brisje a churra shamer, as housren a sparrow etlach bain derrebolgus bol elia, renne smarshal de chulju nie und skirragan, Cooch high, glesn toeristel, binken, boer, as eer boligen a taiega. Yes, steel drums in there as well. That's Bagad Cap Caval, who had been lying in second place in the championship after the first round earlier this year, but who played particularly well in Lorient and were awarded they earned the highest mark across both rounds of the championship. Sodor Station and Ashun Radio Banning, she Claare na Gael wiskel scalia mach, as mish the Hebbali, Robert Cutting Corwell, Robert Corslach.
Have you ever had tell about Bobby Bob?
Ach, na jai de chulju nieve brishegen immer nach Carledi, gewenne rische sparrow. Ach, ve jere, renne terthene, as renne kummel sa lauege. Nish, dote ben cheshege. Nach jinne mea baru? Ha jin dregereschen, ro eishach weer shen mor bes, nim slugge shise. Ach houts van sparrow bendel ton spelen dinje, renne saimach jan, as dorte, Emma nach Carledi, niu called of Joos Morculina. Esh rennen immer nach Carledi, China mach a tide en ben cheshege, as dorte, ma ben cheshe, jin bula maru a sparrow shaw. Renne ben cheshe bula. Ach renne missel shen nerbi jirige, as renne bula tujem merkjonen immer nach Carledi, as renne tujem shies as maru. Ach renne sparrow, etlach maach herish na krink as soel. Sian Jera Skiel Quair Elia, and fair Shaw Machown, and Martha as a sparrow. After the pioneering work of Bishop John Phillips in the early 1600s, Bishop Thomas Wilson's Call Sorge of 1707 and Ancestral Scruturish New Mayan, St Matthew's Gospel of 1748, the work towards publishing an Bible Chazerik, the Holy Bible, as well as a translation of An Lior Paja, the Book of Common Prayer, was driven by Bishop Mark Hildersley. And so, in celebration of Mark Hildersley, let's go back to an anniversary associated with him shortly after he'd succeeded Thomas Wilson as bishop in 1755. Thomas Wilson had been appointed bishop, as I mentioned, in December 1797. In December 1798, his successor was born. Mark Hildersley was born just a year after Wilson had been appointed. And Mark Hildersley was one of 16 children born to the Reverend Mark Hildersley, another Mark Hildersley, vicar of Sittingbourne in Kent. Mark Hildersley Jr. attended Charterhouse School in London before going to Trinity College, Cambridge. The appointment of the island's bishop at that time rested with the Lord of Man, and he was at the time James Murray, the second Duke of Atholl. I mentioned last time that Sandy Breakin, the accordion player from Edinburgh, appeared as a pirate for Inchroniac's maritime-themed Ceilidh, at which he played, and as an admiral in an admiral's uniform at the start of the Celtic Songs of the Sea. For the second part of the Celtic Songs of the Sea, he became Parahandy, and in that role he sang this, the Crinan Canal.
Sing along with you know oh, Crinan Canal for me. I don't like the wild raging sea. To cross the Pacific would be too terrific. To sail to Japan or Fiji. A life on the Spanish Main, I think it would drive me insane. The big foaming breakers, they give me the shivers. The Crinan Canal for me. All together now. Oh, the Crinan Canal for me. I don't like the wild raging sea. The big foaming breakers, they give me the shakers. The Crinan Canal for me. Oh, the Crinan Canal for me. From sea terrors there you'll be free. There's no shark or whale that'll make you turn whale or shiver and shake at the knee. Oh, I wouldn't like leaving my bones in a locker beside Davy Jones. From Ardrishook to Crinan, it's the best trip I've been in. The Crinan Canal for me. All together now. Oh, the Crinan Canal for me. I don't like the wild raging sea. The big foaming breakers, they give me the shakers. The Crinan Canal for me. Last verse now. The Crinan Canal for me. It's neither too big nor too wee. It's lovely and calm while you're frying your ham or making a nice cup of tea. You can go for a stroll on its banks to loosen your muscle-bound shanks. You can darn your socks while you're sitting in its locks. The Crinan Canal for me. Look at this. For God spend sparingly the Crinan Canal for me. I don't like the wild raging sea. The big foaming breakers, they give me the shakers. The Crinan Canal for me. Oh my goodness, God bless you. Right next to the beach.
Sandy Breakin in his guise as Peter, the son of Sandy, or Parahandy, as in the stories by Neil Munro about the vital spark, and there Sandy Breakin sang about the Crinan Canal. James Murray, as Lord of Man, consulted the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Bishop of Durham, and both recommended Mark Hildersley. And in fact, York is the metropolitan for the island, so I wonder why the Archbishop of York wasn't consulted. Well, perhaps he was, but it's not actually mentioned here in what I've read. In April 1755, as Mark Hildersley went to London for his consecration, a highwayman robbed him of £14, 14 shillings and sixpence in cash, huge sum in that era, and also his watch, which was worth 9 guineas. He was too emotional to attend a special event to mark leaving his then parishioners in Hitchin, Hertfordshire, but they lined the streets as he set off. So it shows the respect in which he was held. He travelled to Whitehaven to sail to the island. However, the ship was blown to the Welsh coast, and he had to shelter for 5 days in Beaumaris before managing to get to the island. Mark Hildersley in all took 10 days to travel from Hitchin to the island in 1755, although 5 of those were spent windbound in Beaumaris on the other side, on the other island of Mona and Ismarn, the Isle of Anglesey. Ta nasgil sa Chaglamshaw and sich Fred as Kate. Tred yr awr fydyn y siesio as ben siesio egon, as she Fred as Kate van en manoru. Laid yr awr dwrt Fred. Sain thou gulnish gus ma over ons na maren, Kate, as tred tam I chit back, sain the fail rostich be couraged woord, de haige en agresem, as joch enjach voer de chur me fes. Karteloor Fred dregger Kate, soeljat nim coline shen. Treva tregener tarna gera, gawi noes pronag vain chimley. Huggy ons fryen pan, les pert de eam, as huggy en de jade were skin an isle. Gauw a fronag toicht friege as friel, as for Kate na jade was kummel kassa franne, as henky de way smunnion de down. For jere doet ri heen, gouds tan pronag gull cogre, Cart am I dau be tarn liwn sa teller. Mar sor en Kate shigad rau a fryen pan de jadu de chon, as esh hai shiska sa teller. We heard Owen Williams playing his accordion earlier, in celebration of his win in a competition in Lorient. Here he sings one of his own songs, She Nish Tantre. Now is the time.
Say Shanish and thread the herde in their soul. Shanish and thread as Tash and the
Owen Williams and members of the band Ann Corran with Owen's song She Nish and Tre. Ach nish gouds voor Kate Freelara lune rai stiach se gurn, henk ai dol tajamach stiach se gjonek. Hallo, gen alle moederkjalt, fuddy de jinne Gael a fronag, as ons tollach wie ek mullach na Griechen wijn teller. Ach, Hanna, van pronnag egge woorden se weelegge, as we kost na weili. St. German's Cathedral on St. Patrick's Isle was already in poor condition, but with the new appointment its roof was specially repaired, so that the enthronement of Mark Hildersley as Bishop of Sodor Man could take place there, as it duly did, on the 8th of August 1755. From 7 to 9, you can join Chris Pearson as he brings the best of music for your Manx Radio Sunday Chill Out. Judith Lay will be here at 9 to present Sundown through into Monday morning. And Claare Gael closes with Bagad Cap Caval, who became the Pen Bagad for the 5th time after clinching the championship in Lorient a week ago. Ach, Shene. And Kate Shaw, Rishtachers, Masaw from me, Robert Katin Carslaw, Robert Carslach.
Old Bobby Bob.
I'd like to wish you a very good night, Eve, I'm a Creort, as Duts, my Yeri and Share.